Hello friends and welcome to a lecture on operation research. Today we will study about replacement models, and in this replacement model you have items that fail suddenly. This is Professor Arvind Prasad. So let's go to a problem. It's best understood by taking up a problem. We have 50 bulbs and these bulbs fail suddenly, and what is important here is that whenever the bulb fails it needs to be replaced immediately because it is critical. So for week, if the bulb has run for week 1, that is 1 week, the probability of failure is 0.2. Now, when the bulb enters the next week, the probability of failure again is 0.2, and when the bulbs enter the third week, the probability is 0.6. Now, the cumulative probability is 1. That is, if we add zero point 0.2, zero point 0.2, and zero point 0.6, the cumulative probability is 1. So all the bulbs are likely to fail or will fail at the end of week 3. And cost of replacing a bulb is 3 rupees. So let's see how expensive it is going to be to replace these bulbs. Now the probability of failure in the first week is 0.2. So out of 50 bulbs, you have 10 bulbs which would fail. So I have written 10 here, and then I have copied down the 10 here below 1, which is nothing but the week. That is the end of the week. Now the cost of replacement is rupees 3 for a bulb. So that's going to be 30 rupees. Now as we come to the second week, again from the original 50 bulbs, more 10 bulbs would fail. And from the 10 bulbs that have been replaced, 2 bulbs would fail because the probability of failure of the bulb is 0.2 if it enters the first week in 1 week of operation. So the total number of bulbs that we will have to replace at the end of second week will be 12. The cost of replacement, of course, is going to be 36. Let's come to the third week now. Now from the original 50 bulbs that I started off with, 30 bulbs would fail in the third week. Now the 10 bulbs replaced at the end of first week, out of that 2 bulbs would fail at the end of third week because it has only covered 2 weeks. And from the 12 bulbs that have been replaced at the end of second week, they have covered only 1 week, so only 2 bulbs would fail. So the total bulbs to be replaced at the end of third week would be 134, and the total cost would be 102. We keep doing this for the subsequent weeks, and what do we find? Yes, after that 15 bulbs would fail, after that 18 bulbs would fail, then 28 bulbs would fail, and the cost of replacement would be 45, 54, and 84 as we advance. So the average replacement cost will now be 58.5 rupees. Now let's do something interesting. Let's order bulb in bulk. That is, we give a contract to a person that okay, you come in and you replace 50 bulbs at one go, and you replace the bulbs whether they are fused or they are not fused, they are blown or they are not blown, you replace them. So the contractor is obviously happy because in return he is going to get bulbs which may not be fused. He can make a profit out of it from selling it. So he charges you less for the bulb. That is, he charges you 1 rupee for a bulb because it's a bulk work. So let's see how it's going to work out. So let's say in the first week, 10 bulbs blow out, 10 bulbs are replaced, the cost is going to be 30. In the second week, again from the original 50 bulbs, 10 bulbs blow out, and from the 10 bulbs that has been replaced at the end of the first week, 2 bulbs blow out. So we have 12 bulbs to be replaced in week number 2. Cost is going to be 36. Now in the third week, the contractor is bought in and he replaces all the 50 bulbs whether they are blown or they are not blown, right? All the bulbs, 50 bulbs are replaced. So what is going to happen is we are going to have replaced 50 bulbs at the end of third week. Now again, as we go ahead, we see that we do the same calculations as we had done for week 1 and week 2 here, and we repeat it here. And what do we find? That the cost of replacement again is 30 in the subsequent week, that is the fourth week. And of course, at the end of the fifth week, it's going to be 36 rupees. And again, since he has been given a contract to replace the bulb at the end of second week, so he is going to charge us rupees 50 for replacement. What do we find in this scenario? In this scenario, after every 2 weeks, he replaces the bulbs. The average cost of replacement here now drops to 38.6. As is very evident while I was explaining, that we just chose to replace bulbs in the third week. Well, we did not do any analysis that it should be replaced in the third week, beginning of the third week, or beginning of the fourth week, or beginning of the second week. Well, no analysis was done. A decision was taken, and we have found that the average costs are less. Now, is there a way to find out when should we replace, in which week should we replace the bulbs? That is in bulk. That is, this is known as a group replacement policy. In a group replacement policy, what we do is we replace all the items whether they have failed or they haven't failed. So yes, there's a way of doing it. Let's take the previous table once again and add two columns to it. So as usual, in this column, what we have is the cost that we have incurred in the first week, that is 30 rupees, because bulbs failed, 10 bulbs failed. And in the second week, the cost that we have incurred was 36 rupees. Now, in the beginning of the second week, if we replaced all the 50 bulbs, the cost we would have incurred is 50 plus 30 from the first week divided by 1, that is 80 rupees. That would be the average cost that we have incurred now. Now, let's say, supposing we have now come to the third week, we have entered the third week. In the third week, if we choose to replace 50 bulbs, our cost now, average cost is going to be 50 plus 30 plus 36 divided by 2. That's going to be 58 rupees. Now, this is way lesser than the cost that we would have incurred in case we wouldn't have replaced all the bulbs, because 1 or 2 bulbs would fail, and that was, 34 bulbs would fail, and that would cost us 102 rupees. As we can see here, the average cost in the beginning of the second week is greater than the cost of replacing the bulbs in the second week. But now the average cost in the beginning of the third week is lesser than the cost of the bulbs we would replace in the third week. So here the best strategy would be to replace the bulbs at the end of 2 weeks or in the beginning of the third week. Now it's fairly evident that we did it by gut feeling that we had replaced all the bulbs after 2 weeks. Now here we have a scientific basis to explain us, yes, we should be replacing it after 2 weeks. Now, if we replace it after 2 weeks, the average cost is going to be 38.6 vis-a-vis the average cost in the previous case where it would be 58.5. 34% saving, and that's good enough. So that was the end of my lecture. So goodbye friends, have a great day, have a great time.